Hello, 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 hello from Nashville. Kind of just a last minute little Sunday live here. I wasn't sure I was going to do it, and I thought, oh, I'll go online and see who's here. See if anybody wants to chat about guitars and stuff on a Sunday, on Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, everybody! You're joining me for breakfast. My breakfast on Easter is a delicious Greek yogurt. Mmm, fantastic. And a coffee from Crema. This is solid. In Nashville, give these guys some props. Snobby coffee. It's that real like medium or light medium roast cereal-y situation. It's pretty darn good. Wow, we went out last night on Broadway. Jeez, that place is crazy. Really has become like Las Vegas down there. I had too much to drink, that's for sure. Didn't feel great this morning, but here I am, so it's all good. We had fun though. We had fun. Had some friends come out, and I saw them last night. That was great. Our band was out. They all met. They all made friends. It's just fun, you know. Always good musicians down there in the whole 9 yards. It was pretty cool. Did you have a wild night? I wouldn't say it was wild. It was just fun. You know, we just went, just talking with friends and, kind of bar hopping down there. Robert's Western World and Acme and all those places that are down there. It was pretty cool. It was fun. I will say Kid Rock's place is insane. It's like, well, a lot of them are like that. They're like 4 or 5 floors or whatever, but it was like, geez, this place is huge. And there's like so many, there must have been 4 floors with bands on every floor. It's just wild. It's crazy. I just went in there for a few minutes and it was like, this place is nuts, actually. Gotta hand it to him. Well done. It's pretty crazy. It's about as American as it gets. And, in that kind of like what you would picture, like, a Nashville. It's crazy. It's like, wow. It's big. Go big. What else? Went and looked at some guitars yesterday. So Carter Vintage, Gruens. George was there. That was really neat to see him in there. Went into the crazy expensive section and looked there and saw, you can see in the thumbnail, it's a 1960 burst. Really, really nice burst. With, I guess it had changed Grovers on it, but other than that, it seemed pretty straight. Wide, thin neck. Quite thin. I met Tom Bukovac yesterday. That was really nice. We've never met in person, so we've met over this kind of video chat thing because he was on Tone Talk once and I was also there. But other than that, I'd never met him, so it's just nice to meet him in person, chat for a few minutes. Just a very nice guy. Let's see, Wayne bought a bass. He bought a P bass, 72 with some like it had been stripped to natural. It had original guard, I think, changed pickup and pots and stuff. Had a DiMarzio in it, so it was affordable player. Sounded really good, and he's always wanted one from that year. So that's our bass player Wayne. So he got himself a P bass. It's pretty cool from Gruens. So we both got guitars from there. What else happened yesterday? I don't know, just good times. It was fun. But boy, do I ever feel foggy today. Naive Steve says gigs look well attended in the States. Yeah, they really have been. They've been pretty wild. And man, we got a sound guy that's just killing it. He's really just gets the rock and kind of takes people on a ride. I feel like with the mix, he knows when to push things and when to push the volume and then when to pull back and kind of how to ride it and really take the audience on a ride, and it's really cool. It's a really active mix. I really like him. So that's really terrific. Guitars are sounding terrific to me in the PA and stuff. So if you watch any of the latest stuff, if there's anything on YouTube, just very happy with it. So, greetings from Poland. What's up? I've got a pedal or it's not a pedal. It's actually it's like a little box that sort of looks like a pedal, but it's a booster that I need to do the video for from Poland. A video for. Yeah. Have you ever seen a high watt wah pedal? No, I haven't. How cool. That's neat. Wonder what that's all about. Wonder how many they made. Have you tried a 906 for miking speaker cabs? Yeah, I mean, sometimes they've used them on my cabs. Like I think last year on Classic Rock Show when I had an SL68 and a Bella out, they used a 906 on the Bella. Sounded good on that amp to me. You could probably hear it on our version of my guitar on another. Is it Another Brick in the Wall? Yeah, that's on YouTube. Our version of that. Most of the song until I get to the solo would be the Bella with the 906 on it, and then when I hit the solo, I'm on the SL68. So, yeah, yeah. So, what else are we talking about here? I don't know what the difference, really, how to describe it would be, because I've never actually directly side by side A/B'd them on the same amp. But the only thing about the 906 is that everybody tends to drape them over the amp, which is, I guess, the point. You know, it's flat. You can just put it through the handle or whatever, and then kind of drape it over the top. But I don't see people really. I don't know. People tend to place a 57 with a little more precision. And then the 906, they tend to just throw over the amp, you know, and then it's always at that one distance. It's not like back from the amp at all. I'd love to hear them half an inch back from the, you know, and then play with the kind of the position in front of the speaker a little bit more, you know. It always seems to be kind of just get the job done sort of microphone. But I don't really have a perspective on the sound beyond that. There's some Sennheisers that I really quite like. I like one that not a lot of people put on guitar cabs, probably just because it's inconvenient and expensive. But the 441, which was always the Stevie Nicks vocal mic for years, kind of the long rectangular one. I like that more than a 421. I really like a 441 on guitar cabs. But yeah, they ain't cheap and stuff, and it's probably one of the more inconvenient mics to put on a guitar amp because they're so sort of just long. So the opposite of the 906. How many guitars do you have? I don't know right now. Actually, I haven't really counted for a while. Should probably do that. Earl says I scored a copy of Superior Drummer 3 based on your recommendation. On your poor recommendation. I don't think you meant to say poor. Yeah, it's great. It's a terrific program, right? Recently put bare knuckle green custom shop pickups in my Gibson Traditional. Love to see and hear you playing them. They're amazing. You need to try them. So Peter Green custom shop. I see the Peter Green set with the kind of in between out of phase thing. That's cool. Well, that's neat. Tim says, so if I ran into you in Nashville, what would we be drinking? Well, yesterday was kind of a tequila day. I don't know how it turned out that way, but that's what happened. And it feels like it right now. Let's just put it that way. I love that you give the sound man props. Well, he's just so cool. You know, I'm probably guilty of bitching too much about front of house people and stuff like that. But this fella, man, I walked up to him the day after his first mix. I walked up to him and stuck my hand out and shook his hand. And I said, dude, thank you. You know, because I was just so stoked with the guitars and the PA and stuff. And you can feel it, you know. Yeah, and then I saw some videos on YouTube and I was like, man. So the latest ones from the US tour just sound so good to me. So I really like his take on it's very not afraid to push band and keys. I can hear everybody, man. I can hear everybody. The keys, the guitars, all the singers. I can hear everything. And at times it's almost a little like you can hear the PAs at the limit. And I've heard the subs feeding back a little bit and stuff at the end of the show and things like that. It's a little like almost out of control just because he's making it rock. But it's like, that's rock and roll. It's actually really cool. I haven't heard anybody say they didn't like it or anybody say I couldn't really hear you or any of that. It's just like everybody's like, man, that show rocked. So there's a version of us playing Black Dog that's from what city was it? It might have been from Cincinnati, I think. And if you watch that, you'll hear what I'm talking about. The guitars, it just sounds killer to me. It's like, yeah, dude, that's rock and roll. Really great. And yeah, if you guys have been watching this for a while, I don't always, I'm always like complaining, feel like I am. It's great to feel like somebody's totally got your back, like I'm in that way, and really in a rock and roll way. It's an awesome feeling, actually. I really, really, yeah, like this. Glenn says here, a good sound man or woman is really another member. Yeah, it's the final filter over your whole thing, so you put all this time and effort into your sound and the parts and stuff, and they just make it kick ass, So Tim is saying 906 placement is crucial. Let's see. Sennheiser microphone. Dave, any plans to release the Sir PT signature guitar in Sparkle Black? Yeah, we are going to do that. So just hang tight for a sec on that, and I promise soon I will have a word from you for you on that as to when. Okay, what else we got here? Just catching this live stream. Maybe you've answered already. Or in Nashville for a show. You know what? We aren't playing here. It's like just a waypoint kind of in between. We're headed to Georgia, actually. So we have a gig there tomorrow, and I think the next day, or maybe we have a day off, and then one in Atlanta the next day. I can't remember the exact schedule, but on our way to Georgia and then Florida. So this was just kind of a fun, because we were coming all the way from Detroit. It's kind of a strange routing. So I was like, well, what are we going to do in the middle? And we could just stop somewhere, on the side of an interstate, and, or you can go to Nashville and have some fun. So I'm glad that they decided to do that, because it made for a really fun day. And plus these guys, a lot of them have never been here, the English guys. So this is their first time seeing some of these cities, or they've been here, but they've not been to a lot of the cities that we're visiting. Like, so it's just neat, because fun thing for the folks from England, for sure. It was really fun. And that was the most fun thing yesterday, because I've been to Nashville many times, of course, but they hadn't. So it's fun to go to a place like this with them, and they get to kind of see the, even like the more touristy, Broadway is insane, and crazy, and not, maybe not where locals hang out, like in Nashville or something, but it's really fun to visit with a group of people that have never been here and just want to have a good time. So I appreciate that, And plus some other my old friends popped out last night. My friend Brett Simons, bass player, another bass player friend of mine, my friend Tish, bunch of folks I know here, and so it just was a good day. There's a super chat from Chris. What's up? Can you give me some tips on setting the output levels in my H9? Some of the settings feed back at low volumes. Feedback. That's odd. Is it like when you're using the fuzz and stuff, you mean? I need a little more info kind of on the sounds that you're doing. Generally speaking, I don't use any of that digital, like the distortion stuff in there, although I hear it's kind of cool. I think I did use it for one thing once on tour a couple of years ago. I seem to remember incorporating that for a sound, but because I run mine in my effects loop, it'd be weird for me to do that, so I don't really do that. And I'm also running it in parallel, so because of that, my dry signal isn't really affected by it. So the output levels kind of stay consistent, at least with the way I'm running it in my rig right now. So I don't know how much help I can be, other than to say the levels are a little all over the place with the presets, for sure. So you might turn on a certain preset and it's very, very loud. I find that with the H9 and some of the presets. It's a little, it's almost like becomes like use it for a bunch of time-based stuff, or, reverbs and delay and stuff. Then all of a sudden there'll be this sound with a bunch of compression and filter and a drive or something. And it's like, it jumps out of the amp, and it's just like, holy jeez, like with the levels and stuff. And it can be a little much sometimes. So you just kind of have to bypass it and keep going back and forth and trying to set the levels. And sometimes it's a little like not intuitive, like the output of the effect in the, I'll have to go in and set the output of the H9 to -6 or something to just get it to be what sort of unity. But that's probably because I'm boosting something in the front end of a patch. It's just kind of complicated that way. It's not the easiest device in the world, the H9, So I'm finding some of the more difficult devices for me lately are the H90 H9, as far as like I basically just hook up the editor. Got to have the computer because it drives me crazy to edit it on the unit itself. Although I'm a little better at it than I used to be on the H90. But I find their way of organizing like programs and presets and stuff all very like it's difficult for me, to be honest. So it's a fantastic box for the sounds and the things you can get out of it, but I don't find it intuitive the way that they have chosen to organize all that stuff. I still don't actually understand it, like the way that they, you know, when you're trying to just I don't feel like it's necessary to have like I guess it's I kind of get it. I think what it is on the H9 and H90 you've kind of got like well, see, I still don't like. So you've got your presets, but then you've got programs, and programs are like, you know, like your different delays and different. You can pull a delay from like another sound and put it into a preset, and it kind of like, and you can organize. Yeah, it's just like the sort of the library hierarchy of how they do things is, and I can do it quite simply in the editor, the computer editor. That's all I'll say. That works very well. And it's just for a unit with that many parameters and things to do, it's probably better to use a computer editor. Man, I had an issue the other day with the FM3, just trying to get into, Jesse's got an FM3, one of the singers, and he's playing some guitar on the tour. So for his acoustic, he uses it for a few electric songs. And we were just trying to get into a block on the FM3, and I couldn't get into it. Like, it's like, you know how if any of you seen Axe Effects, how the hierarchy of the, or whatever, you know, you get into the edit screen, or you look at your line of things, you know, the blocks. And then so I was on the compressor block and it's lit up, and I went to go hit edit, and I swear it doesn't go into, like, I'm like, how do I just get in so I can just turn the knobs on this? Like, I want to change the threshold and do this and that. And we literally, like, I tried to get it on the manual online. I mean, I've been using Axe Effects for like a long time. I couldn't figure it out. I was going crazy because it was like I was at sound check. We only had a limited amount of time, very rushed sometimes. And I couldn't figure it out. And Jesse just went and got his computer and plugged it in. Then I'm using the computer editor. Of course, then it's not that hard, you know. But it's like, man, like sometimes I just don't like the with companies the way that they do things. It is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. Like I wish sometimes they would ask more people like me, like, do you think this makes sense? Like the way that we've done this, you know, just like run it by me, like a little bit of like just a beta, you know, or whatever, when it comes to, because like when you push edit and a block is lit up on an Axe Effects, it should go into the edit menu where it just pulls up all the things you can adjust, but it doesn't. And I couldn't figure it out on the unit, how to get to the page where I could just change the threshold and the output of maybe the input gain on the compressor block. Couldn't figure it out intuitively. I had to open the manual, and even then I couldn't actually figure it out. I was out of time, and so then we just hooked up the computer and did it. But I want that stuff on anything to be completely intuitive. You don't need a manual. You just do it and it works. You know what I mean? So maybe somebody can tell me what I was missing there, but I don't know. Did you see Luke McQuarrie at Robert? I believe I did. Yeah. I believe he was playing it, and he did this crazy solo, man. That was pretty amazing. On his telly, which is the same telly I think I played. He lent me his guitar to play with Nick Carter when I was there. We got up at Roberts and played a couple songs with Nick. And he looked different than I remembered him. So I was like, is that the same guy? Like same guitar player, but he just looked different last night. But it's probably just me. And man, he played a solo. We were there twice in Roberts. The second time that we came in, he was in the middle of a solo that was total psychobilly, like drenched in drive, and holy shit, man, like he played this solo that was like really great, like just super cool and like really fluid and not typical, like I say, it was like psychedelic, you know, almost but you know, country, but not what you think of as, you know, clean, you know, chicken picking stuff. It was like he was doing this insane like close interval stuff and climbing up the neck and doing all this like wild bends, and just like it was like, you know, if Hendrix played country or something. It was so cool. It was really neat. So that was fun. It's always great musicians down there. Just terrific. was one fellow that got me up to play. I did like he's like, do you know Life in the Fast Lane? I got up into Life in the Fast Lane. That was in the stage, I think. He was a really nice guy. I was like, oh no, don't make me play. But I got up and did it. It went all right. I was just I was like, God, I haven't played this song in like 8 years, but there it is. Okay. And I just kind of jammed my way through it, and it was cool. But it was fun. Fun night had by all. What else we got here? Is there a reason you chose not to run the Boss SDE in series and take advantage of its noise suppressor? Well, because I want to run in parallel. So I wanted to run I wanted to do a parallel effects rig and try doing the dry through path for the first time for the punch and the clarity and stuff. And I really like that. So yeah, that does negate my ability to use the noise suppression circuit in the Boss, but I gain the, not having run through the devices in series and stuff all the time, which is what I've always done. But I wanted to try the parallel thing, and I am really liking it. So there's just so much clarity with the parallel. Yeah. What else we got here? Only with the editor on a laptop, you can't do it front panel. No, you can do it. Talking about H90s and H9s. Of course, you can do it on the unit. I just find it a little difficult, I was like, how do I get to this again? On an H90, it's like you have to push the, to just get, I still actually don't really know how to use it that well, to be honest. Like, as far as like getting around intuitively, like, oh yeah, it's got this mode and that mode. If you tap both the big knobs, it'll do different things. As far as putting it in different modes for turning on and off, like there's a bunch of stuff that I don't understand on it still. I'm kind of a simple guy. It's like having to sort of do what I do and learn about all these effects and stuff like that and different, I'm not that like the way I use Logic and the way I record and stuff, the way I kind of just feel like many times with programs and computers and stuff, I sort of scratch the surface and I just get to where I can make music and what I want to do. But then I'll watch there's this one girl that I started following on Instagram that does Logic tips, and she's so amazing. She knows how to do all these like different things that are just like, did you know that if you tap this, that then this window pops up and then you can do this and then you could, I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff. She's like a Logic genius. And I've been using Logic for 20 years, and she knows how to do all this stuff. So I'm a little bit like that. Like I just get it to where, I like it. But it's kind of funny because some of my favorite guitar players were like that too. So I don't get down on myself about it. Like Eddie Van Halen was kind of like that with, the SDE 3000, for example. He would sort of use it in one way. He didn't really get into filters or phase or, even the modulation on it and stuff. He just liked the sound of the echo, and he kind of like had his delay times, and he would use it in a certain way, and that was it. And, he sort of would leave it on, there's like 4 different ways he would use it delay time wise, and that was it. And maybe similar with like the H3000. Like, I don't think he really used it for micro pitch, and it was kind of that was it. It was sort of like that was his sound, and he wrote songs with it. And I kind of like that. I mean, there's folks that get into all the different, abilities and of different effects units. And I think that's really cool to use your stuff to the greatest potential too, and find different sounds and stuff for sure. But if there's something that happens to me where, like with the Quad Cortex, I find it's so simple for me to use that I do find myself using it in different ways, because it is very, very, very intuitive to program, and I barely have to ever look at a manual. For example, it's something as complex as maybe mapping an expression pedal to a certain effect parameter, and then I want the expression pedal to go from 10% to 60 of that particular parameter. Say it's the delay mix or whatever. I could figure that out on that thing with no manual. I just did. I was like, okay, first of all, expression pedal. Okay, expression. Okay, now how do I map? Oh, you just go like this, and then you do, I think that's it. And then I might be confused for 20 seconds. I'm like, no, this is it. Okay. And then I just got it. Like, and it was like, so, they obviously put a lot of time and thought into that. so that you keep your mind on music. I love that the most, those simple devices, because some people are just smarter than me, I guess. But well, not I guess, I know. All right. Let's see. Everybody's saying Happy Easter, which I haven't done enough. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter Sunday. Have a great one. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. Oh, what else did I see in my guitar shopping yesterday? I thought I'd talk about that for a minute. I saw a beautiful 59 335. Actually, both Carter and Gruens had a 59 335. So the one at Carter was a sunburst, like tobacco burst. It was beautiful, really nice. And then the one at Gruens was a natural. Very cool. Gruens had this Strat that was crazy. Supposedly it was an employee-made guitar. And it was, let me see if I can find a picture of it. It was made, they think, in 1966, but they used up some old parts. So it had like a 64 neck. And it was an ash body, which is pretty weird for that era. Generally Strats were older, and it was see-through, blonde. Let me find it here. There it is. There it is, right there. So factory see-through blonde finish. Ash, obviously. You can see the clay dots. You can't see the headstock, because the headstock is really interesting on the guitar. I don't know if I took a picture of that, but it's a small headstock, like a 64 would be, and a kind of a funny logo. And the guitar is basically all straight from 1966, kind of wacky. Oh, there, you can kind of see the logo there. It kind of looks like the logo that they would put on maybe Bass 6 or something. I don't know. It's like a different logo. And certainly not what they were using normally in 1966, So it was a really interesting guitar, quite a wide neck. And Tom Bukovac told me to check it out. And he was like, "You got to try that." And I tried it, and I was like, "Man, the guitar is badass." And it had a great sound. Just, I didn't even have a pick on me yesterday. It's so silly. Go to guitar store with no pick, but I didn't. But I was just playing with my fingers, and I could just hear the notes in the guitar were just like, it was loud for a Strat. It was really interesting. But you can see the crazy kind of checking and stuff on the finish. It's got the crack there in the pickguard, just like my 64 on the screw. They all did that. But what an interesting guitar. Natural like that is not my favorite color, for sure, but a really unique guitar, and great sound. And you could just tell, a great player, like really great player, and kind of wide neck, like kind of 1 11/16 maybe. Interesting. Yeah. Tom says it's a cold, rainy Sunday wherever he is. It's a little cooler today, but still really nice outside. It was a beautiful day out there yesterday, walking around in the sun. What's my favorite guitar trick? Guitar trick. I don't know. I'd probably do the Eddie Van Halen pick, scrape, slide thing. Maybe too much. So that's my favorite trick. That's got to be the one that I overuse the most. That's not like guitar note related, just a noise. Let's see. Here's a little more on the H9 here. Seems to happen when the signal swells with modulation peaks and reverb tails. The output seems to vary according to the effect in the setting. Well, I don't know. See if you can just kind of figure out what's, like, if there's compression on in the preset. If the preset uses compression, which a lot of their presets do, then it's gonna, it'll squish down and then swell up afterwards, so that maybe it's that, and then you could just disable the compressor, and maybe you don't need it in that sound. It's kind of weird. The H90 and H9 have compression, it's like sort of unique for a digital device, but check that maybe. Yeah. Okay, what else here? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I basically dedicated an old cell phone to go with my Katana Air because you can't really get to everything from the panel with the function knobs. Yeah. I mean, when I do, for example, when I program my switcher, my Musicom Lab switcher, there's kind of no way I can do what I want to do on the switcher itself. I mean, I could, but it's complicated going through all the menus and stuff on the switcher. So I just plug in the editor and I do it on the editor. H90, same thing, plug in the editor. And kind of permanently have a USB hub with a couple of USB cables attached to it for this purpose, so that, you know, when I got to edit sounds or change my switcher in any way, I just plug in the computer and do it that way. Seems to be the best way on some of these devices. But sometimes on a pedal, you know, you just want to be able to change something. It's like, it should be, I mean, the Quad Cortex is the easiest thing in the world to do this stuff with. It's really, really nice, I must say. You know, and they all sound good. You know, these are great sounding devices, but it's just, it really comes down to somebody sitting there designing it, you know? And you know, like what do they call it? The interface, you know, what's that called? The GUI or something. What do they call it? Like you know, how we humans interface with a piece of gear to do something. And if you can make that seamless and intuitive, it's a real great thing, you know. Eventide released a Bluetooth app for editing the settings on the H90. Have you tried it? No, I haven't. But that was always the thing with the old one that bothered me. Was I'm not a big fan of having to Bluetooth up to something to change like the mix, you know, ratio or whatever. You know, if I just want a little more feedback on the delay. I mean, it's kind of a great, it's not the easiest thing to use in the world either, but the Boss SD 3000 EVH, at least if I want to change the feedback, there's just a big button on it that's for feedback, right? It's kind of old school, the way they designed that thing. Or the mix, I can change that really quickly. I'm actually pretty good at editing the Boss now. I'm pretty fast at it, getting into the menu and doing stuff. There's a little bit of silly stuff on the Boss. Like, for example, you can't tap, at least haven't seen, like on the SDE 3000, tap tempoing in a delay time, and then you want to store that. Okay, here's my new delay time, like you can go on Strymon, right? So tap tempo in quarter notes or whatever, because you've got it set for tap. Oh, I like that sound. That's how I always want it to pull up. Store, right? And then when you go back to that sound, it's there, not on the Boss. You have to get in and actually change the BPM in the master menu. You'll find that if you tap tempo the Boss, it won't go back. At least not that I've been able to figure out. And I think I confirmed that a while ago with Aaron, my guy over at Roland, that yeah, it's not. You have to actually get in and change the BPM. So that's fine. I mean, but it is kind of like you can't, like on the fly, you know, right before a gig. Oh, here's the new tempo we're playing a song at. We've upped the BPM a little bit. Just tap it in, store, done. Nope. You go back to it on the gig, it's going to go back to where it was. So you have to get into the BPM and change it, you know. I don't like that, you know. I wish it would update the BPM with the tap. That's all. It seems like a simple thing that they could do with a software update. They would probably take me up on that and make that happen if I just suggest it. But yeah. Who am I on tour with now? So I'm on tour with those crazy guys from England that I play with sometimes, called Classic Rock Show. We play the Who and Zeppelin and you know, stuff like that, Stones and AC/DC and stuff like that. Just have fun. But it's a nice theater show with good PA and lights and video and all that stuff, and lots of guitars and amps. Yeah. Okay. There's a super chat I gotta grab there. Let's see here. Eston Ray says, "A most happy Easter." Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I hope you guys are having a good Easter. Got a little day off here. I'm just chilling. I'll take off in a while and go to Georgia. JJ's asking if Sir would ever work with Synergy to release some modules. They've asked them to. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question, but I don't think John has been super like interested in it for some reason. I don't want to speak for him, but I think I don't know. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I think it would be cool, to maybe do something like, could do a PT module or something like that. It would probably work and sound just pretty good, Um, it's not going to really end up sounding that much different, to be honest, though, than say something like the BE, like the BE BB or something. That's kind of like a Fendery clean with a Marshally, modded drive channel. That's kind of like my amp. And, there's only so many differences between, like, yeah, there's some things different, little like coupling caps and stuff like that. And I don't really know that it would be that different. I guess something like his crunch mod or something like that, you could probably be pretty cool. Like, like more like or like whatever, the Green Day amp, that thing. Maybe you could do that. That'd be interesting, actually. Module like that. A little different. And that would be something different for them. Guitars for your project. Thanks for the super chat. It says, I just got a Friedman BE50, speaking of which. I want to use it conventionally with effects loop and cab. Okay. But need a front of house direct option. Sir, ISO box into cab. Or, you mean the little line out box? The cab and UI stomp. Huh? Stomp box. You could use the UA stomp box with the line out. And yeah, your effects will carry through to the aux stomp, because what you're talking about doing is putting, I think you're not talking about the ISO box, you're talking about the Sir line out box, which is just takes a tap off the speaker out on its way to the speaker cabinet. So amplifier speaker out normally goes into the speaker cabinet. Instead, you run it into this little Sir box and run the through to the speaker cabinet. It just passes the signal through the speaker cabinet. But now you've got a pot on there and an extra 1/4-inch output. You can take a line out and run that to your aux, and that'll work just fine. Yeah, you could do that. If you want an even simpler sort of situation, you could use something like, I'm just finishing a video right now for this multi-cab thing from Sakalis, multi-cab 4. It's got basically an option to do that, like through and then pass the signal through, and then it's got a bunch of different speaker cab options on it that you can pick to send to front of house. You use something like that. It's not IRs, but it's some kind of digital speaker simulation that's built into the box. Do the same thing with the Blue box from our friend Thomas Blug. It does that. It's like a cab sim that has a speaker through. If you want to do it in the analog world, you could do it with the Sir Ace, which actually sounds really good. The analog cabinet emulator. It's more like a, fine-tuned analog cab sim, basically. Yeah, so there's a number of different ways you can do it, but your way with the aux will work just fine as well. Yeah, that's one way to do it. It's just you're going to need 2 pieces of gear, the line out box and then the aux separately. But if you want to use the aux for its other features and things, yeah, you could do that. Let's see. For your information, H90 software version 1.7.1 is required to enable Bluetooth functionality. Would you like to update? You plug in the editor? No, don't update. Scares me. I got stuck one time updating, and then I had to, revert back. Like, then you got to download the new editor for your computer. Oh, I don't have that. Oh, I don't have internet, and I'm in the venue, and now I need to edit something, and I can't because, like, now these are the kinds of things that happen to me. It's like, and then I just want to play guitar. Do you think Sir would ever do another run of auras? I don't know. I don't really know. I know that, John's talking about doing other stuff, that's I think the thing about the Aura is that it's an awesome guitar. They only did 100. It kind of makes it limited and fun. And John really, for the type of guitar, he really wanted to finish them all himself, but it took him a really long time to do that because the amount of work that he puts into them. So it's sort of, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze sort of thing. I think he's more interested in maybe coming up with another design, a different design that would maybe be easier in that regard, like easier to make, and then also not even with a hint of running afoul of any kind of like, Gibson's quite litigious and stuff like that. So with things, and why deal with that? It's like, just, you don't have to. So when he's talked about it in the past, I'm always like, well, I don't know. Like, there was companies like Gustafson that had a very telly-shaped kind of 59 style guitar that for instance, that like people seem to really like, and so I just don't know that it's worth it, to do the single cut thing and then have to deal with all that potential, problems and stuff from when you could probably make something. I mean, there's he'll make something beautiful and something slightly different that like is a little less, like controversial or something when it comes to, not controversial, but, stays out of trouble. I don't know how else to describe it. Because it can just be a pain in the butt, in the business world. So, how's the tour going? It's going really good. Has Banksy behaved himself? Yeah, he has. He bought a bass yesterday. So, Eden says, hey folks, there seems to be 250 of us here, but only 78 thumbs up. Yeah, hit a thumbs up, please. Help spread the video far and wide. I'm not sure if most people thought I was going to be here today. I think I might have mentioned last week I was maybe going to take it off, but then I'm just sitting here on a day off, and I'm like, kind of don't feel like going out yet or doing anything right now. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? Not do Sunday Live? That'd be ridiculous, just because it's Easter Sunday. There's going to be some people that are bound to be just sitting at home and want to hang out and talk about guitars and music. So let's do it. So here I am. But yeah, hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. I think I'm pretty far back in the chat. Or maybe I'm not, actually. Let's see. Close to the bottom. So, all right. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Somebody ordered an SL68 Mark II. Captain Sexy. I hope you get it soon. Let us know what you think. Super fun amp. I just love them. Paul says he's coming to see us in Clearwater, Florida. Please come out. Good times. Good times. Should be fun. It's nice to have finally hit some nice weather. I'll say that, because it was like cold, and like Detroit was 32 or something the first day, and then it got so much nicer the next day. It was like probably 45, but the first day was like genuinely cold that we were there. And now it's like I went out and got coffee in my shorts this morning. It's crazy. I don't normally wear shorts. I'm not a shorts guy, but it's nice enough that I did it. Okay. What else? Tom says Bluetooth is nice to have, but sucks when it's the only way. My old joke that I'm stealing from Tushy Hired Gun. Got fired from my gig yesterday. The MD said I was on my phone for the whole rehearsal. I was just trying to program my H9. Kind of funny. Just a joke. I didn't get fired from my gig. All right. People on YouTube didn't realize that the CRS had a temporary singer for the first couple of gigs. It was only one gig, actually. So we had a singer come out named Paulie Z, who's somebody that I have done a little bit of work with in the past. He lives in LA. He used to do Tuesday nights at the Whiskey, the Ultimate Jam Night. He hosted that for like 8 years. So he would host it. He's a great MC. He's a funny guy. And then he's a great singer too. And so he would sing probably like, I don't know, 8 songs a night, 10 songs a night or something. And then of course his guests that would get up and sing all the other songs. So he did that for like 8 years. So I knew he was great at off the cuff, that he could walk into a situation and just kind of, kill it, which he did. He came in and he did one show with us with no rehearsal, just a sound check. and sang songs like "Carry On My Wayward Son" and "Bohemian Rhapsody," and like heady stuff. And it takes a certain kind of person to be able to do that, just be able to walk in and and look like they are part of a band and fit in with everybody and just power through it, and just also just having the experience of singing probably like a ton of material. So he was great. And yeah, that's that. That is that. All right. What else we got here? Does anybody have good recommendations for a Dumble in a box? So there's the original Zen Drive was great for that. I think that's what Robin Ford actually used when he couldn't use his Dumble. He'd use a Zen Drive into Fenders that were maybe rented or something, So that's pretty good endorsement right there. The Dude is also a good one, I think, from Rocket. I'm using one called a Unobtainium on my board, and it's got a Clon and a Dumble in it, and it sounds great. I use it actually I'm not like a big pedal distortion or pedal overdrive stack guy, but those two sides stack beautifully together. So for example, on tour with this band, I use it on a few solos and songs and things. I use it stacked for a couple lead parts in Because the Night, that song, and also in Hotel California. I use it. So anything that's not like Marshall-y rock grind, like Hotel's a little more like Fender-y, warm fat kind of, and so I'll use the Unobtainium for that. So I check out the Unobtainium because it's really nice with the two sides, the Clon side and the Dumble-y side. What else we got here? I'm gonna grab that super chat up there. Here's a weird idea. You should do a collab with a DJ like Deadmau5 or Skrillex. They're too popular for me though. Let them do. I mean, I'd be happy to do it, but I don't probably think they'd be interested in working with me. Live jam session where you provide the riffs. I don't know how that would go. I just want to do another record, man. I want to do another record and record it kind of live, and I want to make a record that sounds like, I don't know, like Satriani's The Extremist or something. Just great big bass and drums and guitar and kind of simple arrangements. That's what I want to do. Arthur Gonzalez says, I'm wonky and meds. We'll work with you here. Two separate things. I had another back procedure. I wanted to show you support. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. And hey, feel better, dude. Back procedure, man, that's rough. When your back doesn't work right, it's like all bets are off, right? Like, what are you supposed to do? So, thank you very much for the super chat, but we got to wish you quick and speedy recovery, my friend. Yep. Okay. What else have we got here? I don't know why I'm doing a slow version of Moby Dick. Just reading all your comments here. I only use Clon for clean boost, says Tom. I like it for boosting my lead sound. But I run like the gain and the volume on around 4. I don't have them up very high. I'm not using a ton of drive, a little bit of the drive. Some people don't like the Clon drive, like the overdrive in it. I actually quite like it. I don't know why people don't like it. I'm always like, I don't know, it just sounds like sort of 2B overdrive to me. The clipping circuit in it. It kind of does a fattening thing to the tone, even if you're not using that, right? That's the Clon sound, sort of a low mid fattening. So clean boost, it's sort of to me, it's sort of a colored boost, I guess. But beyond that, then you add a little drive to it, and I kind of like that sound, just a little bit of the drive. Quad cortex, helix. Whoops, I'm sorry. I was trying to highlight this one. I'll come back to this one. Quad cortex, helix, iridium. Anything else? Well, they all do different things. The iridium is really nice, and I recommend it for, like, my friend. he's like, all I want is a Vox. Like, that's it. And I'm going to go direct, and I run pedals into a Vox. So that's what I want. Like, it was my friend that plays with Train. And he's like, yeah, I've been using AC30s forever. That's what I'm comfortable with. I just need that sound. And then I'm going to run pedals into it. I'm like, you don't really need anything beyond an Iridium then. You know, it's got a great Vox in it. You could use a Ruby too from UA. Just get the one thing, you know, don't complicate it by getting like, I was kind of like, you know, you could get a quad or, you know, and it'd be great. And then I was like, kind of unnecessary for him. If he's already, you know, if you've already got your pedals that you like, so you don't need any effects, why, you know, why, and, you know, the weight and size, why not just get the one small thing that just works, you know, for your rig? And he got a Iridium, I believe, and he loves it. So from what I'm told, from what he told me. So that just makes sense to me, you know? And so then if that's all you need, that's all you need, you know? The Helix, in its various, you know, like iterations, I mean, the Helix Stomp is incredibly tiny. It's a little complex to use because of how deep it is, how much you can do in a small footprint, but that's kind of necessary, I guess, because it's so small, you know. How would you make it any easier to use? And it is amazing for what it is. Like the amount of stuff. I'm gonna sit on the floor here for a sec, because I can kind of sit at a different angle here. There we go. What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. Yeah, like just kind of like you know, it's a great all-in-one. Like if you need a bunch of effects and whatever, and you need it tiny and to fit in your suitcase around a small pedal board, then it's awesome. The bigger Helix, obviously, one of the biggest advantages I would say is the built-in expression pedal. So that's really nice. You know, if you want to do any wah or volume stuff, you don't have to have an extra one of those around. And I've gigged a little bit with done different things with the Helix and worked really well in that regard, you know. And then the quad is the one that I've been using for a modeling rig. I'll be out playing some dates with Fight for Fighting in May and also in August and stuff. And I've got a quad on a board that I'll take. And I've got it configured for the 4 output thing. It just does that really nicely. So in other words, like a left-right to the PA with IRs, and then left-right with no IRs to a power amp and a couple cabs. And I can do that so easy with it. Traditionally, I've used the either a Matrix or have used 2 Seymour Duncan power stages for power amps to go to cabs. I got to get one of those new Duncan, the new one with the stereo, right? So you can get yeah, stereo Seymour Duncan. So I want to get one of those so that I can pop that on, just have a stereo power amp. It's easy to use with the quad to get a little cab sound on stage. Simple. What else we got here? What's your favorite song on the tour that we're playing? That's a good question. I enjoy a lot of songs, to be honest. So it's hard to pick. You know, like I enjoy playing. It's pretty simple, but I enjoy playing "Wish You Were Here." You know, because we do this really nice version of it, just acoustic version of it. I mean, I guess it's all acoustic anyway, isn't it? But, you know, we play, we don't, you know, it's just a very nice moment. It's a nice moment in the set with 3 acoustic guitars, the way that we're doing it. And I like that because it just comes down. You can see the audience. It's a nice ear break. Like everybody's into it. You know, it's cool. What else? I mean, we're doing some fun. I enjoy playing a Journey song we do just because it's got a gratuitous, melodic, really cool guitar solo. And I love that. I love playing Owner of a Lonely Heart because it's, and I love playing Rush. We do a little Rush, and I love doing that. And people love it over here in America. They really respond. It's like there's more response than there was in England for that, so it's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Rob's saying he's having problems with dead frets. With plect. When I get them back, the dead frets were still there. Do they sound dead not through an amp? Like, are they choking? Are the notes choking, or is it like dead spots? You know, because sometimes you've got dead spots on the neck where like it sounds like the note just kind of dies and doesn't sustain, but it's not getting, there's the 2 different problems, right? Like the getting choked by the other frets, or action too low or that kind of thing. Or yeah, so it's just like dead spots or choking, so I'm just not sure which is the issue, but it's definitely a job for a tech that, if it's just dead spots, if there's no other buzzing around a note and then you hear one just kind of like home and it doesn't sustain, that can happen, in P basses it happens a lot, or certain notes on strats and things seem to kind of die. And that's like a different thing. So it just depends which problem it is. That LP from Pete's new LP guitar, that's such an old video. Yeah, I know the one you mean. No, is that a Gilliarn? Yes, it is. Yeah. I use a Clon clone with my Bugera, and it sounds better than a Tube Screamer. Yeah, that's what I do, clone, and I like it more than a Screamer generally. For boosting the lead or adding a little bit of extra sauce to a lead sound. Yeah. Let's see. DMAC, similar tumness. That's a Clon style. Uses it as a boost and EQ to tighten up and add bite to my UAFX line at lower volumes with humbuckers. Cool. Find the line to lack treble, especially if jumped and channel volumes turned up. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Try using the Eddie cab, the one with the greenback and the JBL, that thing, and just use volume 2 off, just use volume 1, see if you can't get it bright enough that way. I'm sure you've probably tried that though, but it just depends what you want. What do we got here? Ever play any Tommy Bolin? Not really. Teaser is one of the best albums. Yeah, he was an interesting cat that flies under the radar a lot, wasn't he? Thank you for sharing your art. Thank you, Todd, for the super chat. No, I've never done a Tommy Bolin tune. We've never done it in classic rock, but that's an interesting suggestion for sure. All right, what else we got here? It's interesting. So on a completely different note, these guys are talking in the chat, Ryan and Chef Jeff, sciatica and neuropathy, burning inside leg. I get a nerve thing in my right leg, and I think it's because I stand funny on stage. Do you guys ever do that? You ever get like you stand weird and then you end up like sore later or something, or you've got, something going on? It's actually not as bad as it was over in Europe. But I get this kind of like numb on my outer thigh, on my right leg, and I think it's the way I stand. And I was reading about it, and it's down to a pinched nerve thing that happens. It seems like that's what all signs point to. It's just a nerve situation. So it's not as bad as it used to be, though. It was really bothering me a few months ago. Now it seems to have chilled. Let's see. Love the good vibes here, says Arthur. Me too, man. Always good vibes with you guys. Me too. This is interesting. Fred says that he used to teach blues Saraceno when he was 12 or 13 in Wethersfield, Connecticut. That's awesome. I saw you guys in the Sweetwater video. What's your opinion? I love blues, man. He's amazing. I mean, I used to listen to him when he came out, and I was like, this guy is like my age basically, and just kills on guitar. When he was like 17, I was listening to him, and I always liked his sound and how he didn't use too much gain, and he could play fast and rip, but he's like not too fast. It was always like tastefully kind of aggressive, and he always had a great ear for tone. His tones were always great, and we're friends now. He's a really nice guy. We're actually supposed to get together when I get back. And there's an old mutual friend of ours, Nick. Nick was a teacher of mine at Musicians Institute. I haven't seen him in 30 plus years. So they hang sometimes. They believe they're both in the kind of the television music world, and they're friends and stuff. So I can't wait to actually connect with Nick again and see him, because I learned some great things from Nick. He was a really great instructor. He was a terrific guitar player, similar actually, like amazing technique, but very musical, not just shred for shred's sake, or Whittly Whittly, you know, it was always he's a very musical guy. And so it doesn't, you know, shock me that they both ended up as composers for television music and stuff in that world. So look forward to that. Guitars Free Project there with the super chat. Thanks, man. Alternate or economy picking on 2 notes per string. Don't stop believing. I do alternate. Da 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 da. You know, on the 2 strings. So what is it like? Yeah, it's just E. It's in E, right? So it's like 17th fret of the 2nd string. Isn't that what it is? And then so I'm playing on the 2nd string, you know, half step down, E, D flat, and then on the 3rd string. That's right? I'm thinking of the right key. 18th fret and 16th fret, right? Isn't that right? Yeah, I think so. I think I've got it. My brain is mush today. But yeah, just alternate pick it, starting with a downstroke. You can get it if you just practice it. You know, you just got to get it as smooth as you can. And it's hard. It's hard. You know, I roll on the volume with a volume pedal when I do it. We don't play that song anymore. We did it last year, but yeah, roll on the volume pedal and kind of, you know, and then you get faster and faster and faster and faster. It feels good when you get it, you know. It's a cool lick. Neil's a kind of a hard one to emulate, actually. When he rips, especially, it's like, yeah. Okay. Plaid to the bone. That's blues. Yeah, remember the plaid guitar? Totally. So for a minute, I worked in a music store that sold when he had a Samick, you know? So I remember those. They were inexpensive and they were good and they looked kind of cool. They had a kind of hybrid telly kind of thing. And out at the same time that the Van Halen guitar the Music Man came out. And it had a sort of similar shape, but of course the Samick Saraceno one was way less expensive and they were cool. It was neat. I liked it. Remember you could get it like a creamsicle color. It was a fun guitar at the time, you know. Oh, that's pretty good, Tom. Rage Against the Machine Gun, Kelly Clarkson, Backstreet. Where's that? Rage Against the Machine Gun, Kelly Clarkson. That's what I got it. Backstreet Boys to Men at Work. I think I did the Boys to Men at Work. I had that one already. You're not the first. Widespread Panic at the Disco Biscuits. NWA, Perfect Circle Jerks. Awesome. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. Well done. Well done. Well done. I have a Blue Saraceno Samick Radio 10. That was it. Yeah, they were cool. They were like a cool working, you know, kind of shredder tool guitar that was simple, you know, not expensive and quality, just a good piece of wood. And, you know, they had pretty good sounding pickups and stuff, as I remember. It was cool. Or did it have Duncans in it? Might have, because he's been a long time Seymour Duncan guy, I think. Or did it have Samick pickups? I can't remember. On a carbon copy, would you use the modulation? Yeah, totally. I like it. Have you ever played a Bray amp? I have not. They've contacted me about doing some stuff, but it just, I don't know. We've never hooked up on it. It's probably my fault. I probably had emails back and forth, and I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I'd like to try one. I would love to, actually. Let's see. Jason says, I usually watch Sunday Live after they've been live. Great to be here. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining. Speaking of Nashville, Tom Bukovac would be a great guest. I'd love to have Tom on. I mean, I was saying when I first got online that I met him yesterday, actually, for the first time. He was in Gruens when I went in. I went up to him and he was like, Pete, what's going on? And we'd never met. We'd met like online video chat like this, but it was, you know, he's amazing. He's a great guitar player and a very nice guy. And funny too. So I liked him. He was cool. He's the one that pointed me to that strange 66 Strat that they had and said, check it out. So of all the artists you have toured with, which one would you say surprised or challenged you the most? You know, it's a funny answer. Jewel. And the reason is, I mean, everybody was challenging their own way. Like they'd want things a certain way, and there'd be, you know, maybe a moment where I had to work on something. But I'll tell you a funny story. One of the hardest things I think to get is singer-songwriter feel. Okay, so like when somebody plays acoustic guitar, like you ever tried to play like uh Needle and the Damage Done exactly like Neil Young, or one of his other songs, that's on acoustic, maybe Old Man or something. It's really difficult to do, to get it to sound the kind of like percussive, and the lilt and everything, and they're playing, right? And especially if it's finger style, So I think it was Who Will Save Your Soul, the Jewel song. And she had written that when she was 16. And she had a certain way of playing with her fingers that, and I'm not like a big finger style player, but, I can play with my fingers and get different things. And here was a song that a girl wrote when she was 16. And I should be able to tackle that, right? As a guitar player that's played for many years. And so, so we're in rehearsal and she decides that she doesn't want to play guitar on it. She just wants to sing it. So now it falls on me to play guitar. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I learned it and, listened to it. And we went into rehearsal and started playing it. And she was sort of stopped me and goes, not exactly. And I was like, oh, and then, okay. And then, she'd play it and she had this sound, this certain style with an acoustic. There's no hiding. It's just like, there it is, right? You've either got it or you don't. And so I watched her do it. And I'm really into trying to get, as you guys know, I mean, sometimes I'm kind of nerdy about, like with Van Halen and stuff, but getting exact phrasing and trying to get it like just so that it sounds like the artist, So I got really nerdy about it. I'm sitting there and it was kind of hard, like to get like her. And so I'm sitting on the drum riser on a break and I'm sitting there playing that song over and over and over again. And the bass player, Saul, he's a great guy and funny guy. He came over to me. He plays with Bryan Adams now. He's been with Bryan Adams for years. But he came over to me and he goes, "Hey," I'm sitting there and I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you ever think you'd be trying to play that song, having a hard time with it?" I'm like, it was really funny though. But I mean, yeah, it's like you think, oh, easy, got it. Maybe not. Like sometimes, So there's certain things, and certainly with acoustic guitar, when it's really, really naked and very dynamic, and really down to your muting and the kind of your feel and everything, that you bring to it. So that was a surprise and a little bit of a challenge, I would say, to your question. Yeah. Yeah. All right. What else are we talking about here? Let's see. Each musician has a technique and nuances that are challenging to duplicate, if not downright impossible. Yeah, that's the thing that makes us human and different, I guess, and special. That's, you can try and get it as close as you can, and you might never get there, but you'll end up with an more interesting sounding you, maybe. So, and it's like method acting. That is, it's like, it's exactly like method acting. A friend of mine taught me that. About being a sideman. It's like being an actor and you're delivering a line. You have to try and get into the role, and some people are more successful at that than others. So there's a good one too. Try and play like Keith Richards. Yeah, he's very difficult to emulate. Absolutely, very difficult to emulate. Neil Young is another one that I think is very, very difficult to emulate and get an authentic on acoustic, especially. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting though. I love the topic, Who else? What else you guys think? Like, who else is a difficult? Gilmore's kind of tough in his own way. Brian May is actually really difficult to emulate from the standpoint of his unique behind the beat, or sometimes maybe in front of the beat kind of phrasing that he does. It's really, he's got his own thing going on, for sure. And Eddie is one of the hardest, I think, for sure. Van Halen is a very tough one. So Page is difficult. It's all the guys that kind of play around the beat, And yeah, like I said, I found Jewel difficult. That was a tough one. So yeah, everybody's asking me about Tom. Have you seen Uncle Larry? Yeah, I saw him yesterday at Grunes, which was really cool. Warren D. Martini, that's an interesting one. I haven't learned a lot of Warren's solos. because I've just never played a Rat song in a band, but I love his playing. You know, he's amazing. He's a great guy. He's awesome. He's a terrific cat. So one of my favorites for sure. Mark Knopfler, yeah, he'd be difficult. C.T. DeVille. Steve Vai. You know, I actually find Steve's unbelievable, and he can do things that are superhuman on guitar, but I tend to think that he sort of plays things in a little bit more linear, like rhythmically and stuff. His groupings are generally, like I learned for example, when I was a kid, I learned the Big Trouble solo once. It was one of my favorites on the Eat 'Em and Smile album. And I could play it because, you know, all the note groupings and stuff were all very, you know what I mean? Like it was defined 16th notes or triplets or whatever it was. Everything was defined, you know, a little bit more with the phrasing. Great phrasing, but just a little bit more time-wise. It wasn't as slippery as somebody like, I mean, it's slippery in its own way, but you know what I mean? Like he's not stuffing 5 notes in where you think there's 4, or 3 where you think there's 4, or whatever, you know? It's the ones that have a little more I'm just talking not like technically hard to play. I'm talking about trying to get it to sound like them. The Page is a hard one because it's like it is his imperfection that kind of gives him his sound, and it's so cool, you know. Yeah, a difficult thing, you know, to just nail, you know, that. But Neil Young, I just slam it. Yeah, he's got a very aggressive, but it's a difficult one for me sometimes. Joe Walsh sounds easy, but not. Yeah, I had to learn a lot of Joe's parts for playing with Don, and I was kind of the Joe Walsh in that scenario, and so yeah, I learned a lot of Joe, and he's got a slippery, cool, you know, great phrasing, a lot of humor in his playing. I love that. Rich, what's up? Notice you're in Nashville. Decided to recommend 312 Pizza Company, Chicago tavern style, thin crust. Oh, cool. Well, that's interesting. This is episode 312. Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm not sure what I'm doing later, but yeah, maybe I'll check it out. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Fripp is really hard. That new Crimson sounds like it's going to be killer. Oh, they got something new coming out? That's cool. Got to see that. Or listen to it, rather. Let's see. Did you see Wolfie showing? You know, I've been meaning to watch that. I'll probably watch it right after I get off of here. So probably go in about 20 minutes or something like that, and I'll go check that out. I want to see that for sure. I watched a little bit of it, like just the preview that was on Instagram or something. I gotta watch this, check it out. So yeah. Okay. Ty Tabor has a unique style. Agreed. Tight rhythm playing. Great tight rhythm playing. Ty's got a little bit of Eddie going on, like a similarity. And I love how, you know, when, for instance, like Jamie's crying, doing, right? Like Eddie's like so interesting to me in his rhythm playing because he's kind of playing a bass line, you know, and then like skipping from the 6th string up to the top 2 strings, and then the big open chord, arpeggiation. Like he's so cool. You know, the way he'd filled the space as the only kind of, you know, mid-range harmonic instrument or whatever in the band, you know. He spelled it all out in a beautiful way. And Ty does that too in a trio. If you think about Dogman, right? He's going back and forth between the low strings and the high strings. Very similar. And I love how Ty does that as well. And then Ty's soloing is like, he just blows my mind sometimes with how cool he is on, you know, like his phrasing and stuff is just, love it. Love it. Luke's feel isn't easy. Yeah, I would say that's true too. And Jeff Beck, of course. Yeah. Roy Buchanan, sure, you guys are, yeah, definitely a lot of great. Lowell George, absolutely, because that's a whole nother thing. You know, the slide game is a whole nother situation. George is interesting. George Lynch, yeah. And we said Jeff already. Yeah, for sure. Vito Bratta. Very difficult. I learned a lot of Vito when I was a kid. And I didn't find it. I mean, I loved it. I thought he's very melodic and stuff, but I didn't find it as difficult as Eddie or that kind of thing. He was kind of more like, I mean, yeah, it took, you had to practice for sure to get it, but it was a little more like Vi in that I think that, or even Satriani, where everything was a little more linear note groupings and stuff like that, not without that greasy, 5 notes where you might think there's 4 thing or whatever. So I found Vito to be it made sense to me. There's some things that made sense to me. I remember with some of these players where it was like, oh, like when you're really practicing hard and you're getting better on guitar and you're like, I can't do it yet, but like, oh, I understand what they're doing, and I'm like, I can get a handle on that if I work on it for a few months, I think, and then you'd work, and then you'd like get there and be able to play the weight solo or something, I remember learning stuff like that. And I could get a handle on that more than certain other players. Like I remember Hendrix being really difficult for me to understand when I was like 16. I was like, I can't seem to learn it. Like it doesn't get in there, And then I realized it's because he never plays the same way twice. His phrasing is kind of, it was wild and sort of all over the map. And there's a lot of like, it wasn't as polished. It was more about the other thing, all this crazy wild personality and stuff. And then it was harder for me to remember. And nobody really played Hendrix like it. I mean, even Stevie Ray sounded like him when he played Hendrix, right? He had a lot of that, but he sounded like himself, which was great because he was obviously, that's what you want, somebody that amazing. But yeah, anyways, Danny Gatton. Saw a Danny Gatton guitar yesterday at, he was brilliant. Jesse, one of our singers, was like, "Who's Danny Gatton?" He didn't know. He's from England and stuff. And I said, Danny Gatton was like the sort of quintessential American guitar player. Like, I said he passed away a number of years ago, but I don't know what you'd even call him. Like he was a little like Roy Buchanan or something in a way or Chet. Like, what do you call those guys? They're their own. There's elements of country music and of I guess bluegrass and rock and roll and jazz, and like it's all kind of mixed in, isn't it? And they were their own category of guitar player, So Danny Gatton, it's like, how do you describe Danny Gatton to somebody? Like, I don't know what to say, Like find some things on YouTube and just be prepared to have your mind blown, So interesting. Arthur says, I love Jeff Beck's playing. I can emulate his vibrato, but not his actual phrasing. Well, he plays like a singer, he's like got that where he's emulating a vocalist almost. He is the vocalist, and he's like a great lead singer on guitar. It's just incredible. So Tommy Emmanuel, he's incredible, and talk about chops, like, oh my God, right? Mick Mars, actually like difficult, like, because he's got his own greasy thing, Alex Lifeson, very difficult to actually sound like Alex. I mean, there's a version of us doing YYZ that you can see on YouTube, and we did last year in Classic Rock, and I play. We do another Rush song in this tour as well. But YYZ, the solo, like just try and get it exactly. It's a lot of page there, but I think in his playing, be very difficult, and I love his playing because of that. Because that Rush needed that element, because Neil was a very kind of mathematical kind of guy, a little more Getty somewhere in the middle, incredibly talented but kind of aggressive and like and driving. And then Alex was like the wash of color, and and all the arpeggiated chords, and the solos were very like I loved in the Shred with Shifty where he's talking about it almost has to say, I think the word was fragile, or I don't remember what he said, but the Limelight solo, where it's almost like it's almost falling apart sort of thing, and the Rush he had a very human kind of, there's a lot of humor, and then there's also a lot of like sensitivity in his playing that I really liked. That was he would paint beautiful pictures with his guitar playing but people don't talk about it enough. Alex doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. So really amazing. What you doing in Nashville? So just a waypoint between. We were in Detroit, and then we had to head all the way down to Georgia. What are we gonna do in the middle? We got a couple days off. How about Nashville? So go visit the guitar stores, have some good food, see some friends. Yeah, the pharmacy has the best burger in Nashville. Well, that sounds pretty good. The pharmacy. I wonder if they do a gluten-free bun. I love a good burger. I didn't eat enough yesterday, actually. That was the problem. Too much tequila, too little food. All right. What else we got here? Let's see. Gonna hang for another 10 or 15 and then split. Check out Oxford Guitar Supply for some awesome spray paints in vintage and modern colors. That's interesting. Interesting rec there. Yeah. Have you ever heard of Max Ostro? I have not. I have to check it out. Okay. Let's see. Ryan suggesting I might have a pinched nerve, and if catch it early enough, you can do therapy and avoid surgeries. Yeah, that would be good. I think maybe if I just stay off it for a while, I'm going to see what happens. I've got a little thing going on that I think is a nerve thing. And I think if I don't play gigs for a month or two, I'll see if it chills. Get things like this in my life sometimes where they come and go, and then it's like, oh yeah, remember the thing I had 3 years ago? I had sciatica in 2008, never came back. Remember, wake me up on the tour bus, like, as well. We were on tour with Linkin Park. Video of Chris and Chester singing Hunger Strike together. Like during that time, I had the sciatica problem where it was like, it'd wake me up like in my sleep, like like sciatic pain, and then I just took ibuprofen for a while and it went away. Lucky, really lucky. Well, that's interesting. Steve Vai is playing in King Crimson. That's cool. That'd be great, I bet. Best pickups for a Gibson V. Well, it depends what you want, if it's a Carina, I would say something PAF-y, anything from Thornbuckers to a great PAF of some sort, from even like Antiquities, something from Wolf Tone or Rewind. Or if you want the hot thing, you could go for it could be a Duncan Custom or something in the bridge, or like a more metal pickup or something, hotter. If you got like a white Judas Priest style V or something, you know what I mean. So it just depends what you want. But if it's Carina, I would get a something PAF-ish. Yeah. Okay, what else we got? Let's see. Vito Prada, the difficult neighbor. You've been watching this show for a while. I told the story when I first moved to LA. Vito was living in the next building to me, like apartment building, at what is now an Avalon building, but used to be the Oakwood in Burbank. And it's a massive complex, but he lived in the building right next to mine. And I got his mail once, and I went and knocked on the door, and I was like kind of enamored. I was like, oh my God, it's one of my guitar heroes living here. I just moved to LA from Canada. I got a piece of his mail because I lived in apartment U107 and he was in V107. The two buildings were right beside one another. And so I went over and knocked on the door, and he probably looked through the door and went, what's this kid doing here bothering me? He's like, well, go away. What do you want? Whatever. And I was like, just got your mail came to me by accident. And he opened the door and took it. Oh, sorry. Thanks. I don't know. Just being a good neighbor. I think he was on the phone or something. He's probably like in an argument, pissed off or whatever. I probably would have done the same thing. No, I wouldn't. I would have been nice. T says with the super chat there, I really don't think you would have to imitate someone else's playing when hired. Thought they'd want you to get your take on things. That's not really true. It depends on the gig. It's a little bit of both, to be honest. So like with Melissa, I'll give you an example. Like with Melissa Etheridge, I basically got that gig because John Shanks recommended me. He was her producer, and he played a lot of the guitar parts on the records and stuff as well. He was their guitar player for a long time, and then he became songwriter, collaborator, producer. And he had played a lot of the parts. And he's a big Edge fan, and so there was a lot of like dotted eighth delays and certain things. And he knew I could do that stuff and make it sound like what he had played on the record. So he said, "You should get this guy because he's able to copy the sounds in the parts and make it sound right, like the record, right?" And then, so I went in and I did that at the audition. Well, I got a call back, and at the day before the call back, I got a message saying, "Can you learn this song called An Uncommon Rain," or something, I think it was called, a Melissa song. And it's got a really great, Philip Sace used to play with her, and it's got a great solo by him, blues drenched, univibe, emotional, ripping guitar solo. And I knew that she wanted to hear what I would do with it, just to see. You could just tell. It wasn't like she wanted me to learn this solo note for note. There was no way. It was really long, and it was blues and ripping blues, you know. And it was like, I'm not going to learn that note for note in one day. So she wanted to see what I would do. So, and I just knew it instinctively. I've done all this other stuff and copied, you know, and now she wanted to see what my voice sounded like. And so I just did it. I just played. I played the first 2 or 3 bars from his solo, and then I just went off and did my own thing. And at the end, she said, "That was what I wanted to see if you could do," you know. And so there you go. You know, it was a little bit of both, but sometimes it's everything. You have to copy, and then there's times for you to step out, right? Now with somebody like Don Henley, he wants it like the record. There was a couple moments where I got to do my own thing, ends of songs and things, tags, you know, 16-bar solo or something, where it was like he didn't care, play whatever you want there, you know. It wasn't even a spoken thing. It was just like kind of obvious. It's like, all right, yeah, just go ahead, here, rip, and then when you're done, you cue the ending. But for the most part, he wants it just like the record. You know, that's just part of the gig, and that's what he wants, and he's the man. So, you know, you do that. Other songs, you know, with somebody like Chris Cornell, I would, because Yogi, the other guitar player in the band, was a little bit more of a blues jazz background guy, a little more spontaneous, shall we say, than maybe me, you know. I can do that, but he was really well versed in that, you know. He grew up with jazz background, so he would take a lot of the, you know, solos that were more like that. Although I would do some of the Soundgarden songs, Slaves and Bulldozers, and different things I would play. But he would play, for example, the Black Hole Sun guitar solo, right? And loosely play something that sounded like sort of what Kim did, but I don't think Kim ever did it the same way twice. So, and Yogi was really good at that, at just kind of ripping over that strange solo section in Black Hole Sun and putting his own stamp on it. I would play the defined slide part at the beginning, right? The part, you know, and then the arpeggiated part with the Leslie sound and all that. I did all that stuff because I was really good at, like, those things are really, really important to me. I have to say, I think we even, you know, like I worked hard on that sound, like getting that sound just perfect. And we would play that just like the record. I remember Chris turning around the first time we did it and him going, "Dude, it sounds just like the record," like in a positive way, you know? And I was like, cool, you know, doing my job then. And I think we were able to really achieve that sound. You can hear us do it. You can hear this if you want on the Live Earth. It's the best probably recording of us ever doing that. So the Live Earth, Chris Cornell, Black Hole Sun, and he sang it just brilliantly that day. It was in a great big stadium in Germany. And you can hear what I'm talking about how Yogi and I and our different styles sort of worked well in that band together on guitar. And how sometimes, you know, it's a little bit of both, you know. You need to, it should be an unspoken thing. Like a Stone was another great example. You can't not play that solo. It's a melody. It's like part of the song. It's like playing Who's Crying Now by Journey and not doing the right. You gotta play it. It's like it's part of the music, and with the right phrasing and everything, and people, you know, or the Hotel California solo. It's part of the song. It's a solo, but it's like classical music. It's very composed. You know, I remember reading a story recently about Hotel California and the recording of it, and how when they were doing it, Don Felder had come in with a very, very complete version of it, a demo, and they basically recreated the demo. And when they went to do the solos, they went in and cut the solos, and he was just improvising. And Henley was like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And I know Don's, sort of instincts and his personality when it comes to this. He'd be like, "No, you have to play it like what you did," like, because he'd gotten used to it, and it was part of the composition. That's just how Don thinks, I think, sometimes about music. So he made him get, and I guess they didn't have the recording or something, and he had to call home and get his housekeeper to play it over the telephone or something like that, so he could relearn the solo, because Don wanted him to play it like how he had composed it on the demo. He really liked it, and so that's how that went down. It's funny when you hear them live play it, the Eagles. Joe never quite played it the same way, I don't think, twice, but he sort of plays with the licks a little bit, whereas Felder would play a little, like, pretty much like the record, I think. So it's interesting. Joe's a little bit more that wild improv kind of guitar player. All right, I should go soon, but I think I've got a couple more super chats here and stuff. Happy Easter. Thank you. Happy Easter to you, Javier. Appreciate that. Share your Desert Island pedalboard to get through any gig. 5 pedals, total allowed, and single channel amp. Thank you. Single channel amp. Well, to any gig, a great single channel amp. You can go different ways with it. I know you want me to give you one answer, but something like either a deluxe reverb, maybe with the bright cap clipped, could be great for some people. A Bella from Sir, it's double the power and going to be, more headroom and a little bit bolder voice. That'll be great too. A Princeton, if it's a small gig, something along those lines. If it's a single channel, or say maybe for some people a JCM 800, maybe into the low input. The input that's negative 6 dB, so you got a little more headroom and stuff like that. 5 pedals. So let's go tuner. Number 1, a Polytune. Gotta have that. I like the Polytune. Nice compressor. I'm using the Woodshed from Sir right now, so we'll pick that. The Mobius does anything you could possibly need for mod. So there's my number. So that's 1, 2, 3 pedals already. Ooh, I better pick a drive of some sort. So I'm going to pick my unobtainium, because that's got a Clon and a Dumble in it. Okay, so maybe the engine from Dry Bell, because that pedal has a Marshall sound in it. That's great. So you can get a plexi kind of thing going. And then it's also got a treble booster in it. So to kick for leads, that'll be killer. That's all you need. So I'm going to go with the engine for the drive pedal. And then last but not least, I would say I could do just about everything with the last pedal be an H90, because it's 2 H9s in one. And then I could do vintage style delay and a reverb and everything, have delay and reverb. I mean, that's kind of like got a pretty complete rig there, I would say. Don't have a fuzz, but do you need one? Probably not for a lot of stuff. You got your compressor, you got your Marshall drive, you got a solo boost with the treble booster and the Dry Bell. You got your Mobius for any chorus, trem, univibe, flange, even wah. You've got a wah in there. So you could hook up an expression pedal and do wah-wah if you had to. And then you got delay and reverb coming out of the H90. There you go. Let's see here. Samick, weren't they made by Gibson? No, Samick was, they might have been bought by Gibson. I don't think so. Samick was a brand. They were a big guitar factory in Korea that probably did a ton of OEM. I don't know, who knows who they built for. I wouldn't be surprised if you were like, oh, Ibanez, or like different companies that they'd built for over the years. But yeah, Samick. Maybe PRS is the same factory. I'm making this up. Maybe PRS has their own factory. But if you look up what brands, I bet if you Google it, what brands of guitar did Samick, or I could have it wrong. Samick might have been the brand, and maybe it was Court building Samick's, something like that. But somebody should look up and do a little history. lesson for us on Samick and what they've built, or if it's just you know what I'm saying. Made in Korea. They made the blue Saraceno guitar. I think that was when they were like trying to brand whatever that factory was, whether we'll call it Samick, and then I don't know. You know what I'm saying. They were guitars made in Korea, and they had the blue Saraceno model. Yes, they did. All right. Down to the bottom. Oh, the chat. It's time to go soon. Court. Yeah, Court, I think, and Samick. Court, Samick, maybe the same thing. Am I wrong? Don't quote me on this because I'm just not sure. But I seem to think that they may be made by the same folks. All right, Tom's taking off, so I better too. Tom's going, I'm going. Tom Lynn, take care, everybody. Thanks, Pete. Stay safe. Matchless has a few good single channel options. They do. Yeah, that's true. Nice amps for sure. I find the best pedal amps sometimes aren't the more voxy, things. Like I find more for example, like the Fender 68 Deluxe Reverb or whatever, those reissues that don't have a bright cap on them or have maybe a bright switch, and you can pick that style of Fender clean channel can be very, very, very just kind of good for pedals, and especially if there's no bright to kind of futz out your overdrives and stuff like that. Might not have quite the authentic Fender sparkle, if you like the sound of a bright cap or bright switch, but it will work great with almost any pedal and just the way the EQ, because when you hit it with a more mid-rangey overdrive, it tends to work, tends to balance out the Fendery circuits kind of scooped. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, I could never hear Hotel California again. It's a great song. Just saying. Yeah, I know. It's yeah, but it's a classic, whatever. So it's like, and some people love it, just watch you and Chris do live on Sun Shower. You played acoustic, beautiful version. Thanks, man. Yeah, love playing Sun Shower. You probably saw the one from the MSN performance or something, right? The show that we did in Seattle. So I couldn't play that song right now if my life depended on it. I have no idea and the tuning and everything. But yeah, that's me when I watch it. I'm like, oh, I guess I did it because there I am. It's weird. It's like another guy almost, but I do remember it. Yeah. Cornell had a unique way of playing himself. He did. Yeah, he had a unique style. He had kind of an aggressive right hand. He loved Neil Young, so that makes sense. Aggressive right hand thing. We love you in Woodstock, Georgia. Hey, Georgia, we're on the way. I'll be in Georgia tonight. We're playing Albany and then Atlanta. So it should be fun. Classic rock show. Yeah. If you're going to play guitar with Michael Jackson, you got to wear the wig. I guess. I mean, the money was, I'll put on that wig for that kind of dough. That's house buying money. This wig bought me that house. That kind of thing. I had a chance to meet Steve Morse, but passed it up in the 80s, says Ryan. I met Steve once at an AM show, just briefly. I was a little starstruck, to be honest. So I just said hello briefly, but he was really nice. Big fan of his. Just killer. Bye for now, says Dave. All right, you guys, I'm going to go too. That's it for Sunday Live this week. So next week, last thing I'll say is next week we're doing the guitar giveaway for the folks, the guitar, Pete Thorn HSS Signature Standard model. I'm gonna give that away next week. I'm gonna announce a winner. Somebody's gonna get a Sur guitar that attended one of my clinics in the UK. One of the 180 or so folks that attended. So be sure to tune in for that. And I will talk to you all soon and see you next week. Over and out.